Evening, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having an amazing day so far. All right, so in our class today, or for the lessons for today, it's basically advanced writing, and our focus is going to be on essay writing. So our focus is on essay writing or how to write an essay, right? And usually when we write an essay, then there are three main paragraphs, right? So an essay needs to be divided into three main paragraphs. And we have, let's rather say, an introduction, which we also call an intro. It has a body and it has a conclusion, right? So once you either go on to grade 11, 12, you will have like maybe three different bodies, and the three bodies will then also mention things that you need to write in there, and that will give us a more and broader understanding of what your essay or your topic is about. So we have an introduction, right? We have the body or bodies, and we have the conclusion, right? So your essay needs to be divided into the three main paragraphs, which is introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Usually within our intro, right, you just provide a brief overview of the topic, right? So if your topic, whatever the heading of your topic is, right, you now give us a brief overview of what your topic is about. So that is basically what you write within the introduction of your essay, right? You should also mention the statement that you are going to develop through your entire essay, right? And we usually call that the thesis statement. Let me just get this. So the statement that you're going to develop out the essay, and like I say, usually the statement, right? We also call that the thesis statement, right? So your thesis statement, it appears usually within your introduction, right? In your introductory paragraph, and it is basically a summary. So a thesis statement is a summary of all your main points, or it is a claim of your essay, right? Or your research or book or whatever that you are basically going to be writing about. But it is basically giving us a summary of the main points of the topic that you are talking about, right? Or discussing or writing, right? And also with a thesis statement, right? You need to express. The thesis statement is usually expressed literally within one sentence, right? So your thesis statement, it is a summary of main points and it is usually expressed in one sentence, right? And sometimes that very same thesis statement that you are expressing within your introduction, right? That one sentence, it can be reiterated elsewhere, right? So maybe you talk again about it within your maybe within your body, right? So now you are, let's say, expanding on your the thesis statement that you are talking about within, or that you spoke about within your the introduction. All right, so whenever we write an essay, right, remember that there needs to be three main paragraphs. And we said the three main paragraphs is your introduction, right, which provides a brief overview of your topic. And then we have the body, right? Sometimes, depending if you're either grade 8 or you're grade 12, right, the bodies are going to differ. Sometimes you can have like two paragraphs, you can have one paragraph, or you can have three paragraphs that basically only discusses the body, right? Or it expands on the body of your essay, right? So, of course, it depends on what the topic is. It also depends on the amount of words, and it also depends on how much either your editor or your teacher or the tutor would expect you to express, right? And then, of course, we have our conclusion. So, if we need to provide a brief overview of the topic within our introduction, right, then within our conclusion, you are now giving us a brief of what you had already mentioned, right? So, whatever that you have already mentioned, if you basically link that with the introduction, it is supposed to link, right? Because in our introduction, we give an overview of the topic in our introduction, and then, of course, in your body, you basically expand or you explain or you go deeper into what that overview or what the topic is about, right? You're explaining everything in detail. You are telling us what your essay is about. You are literally giving us a whole idea of what your essay is, right? You are telling us your arguments, your evidence, your reasoning within your body, right? And I remember I said your body can either be one paragraph depending on how much you need to expand on it, or it can be two paragraphs, or sometimes maybe for, let's say, grade 12s, it can be three paragraphs. Then we have our conclusion, and the conclusion is basically now where you are giving us a brief of what you have spoken about or what you wrote about within your essay. All right. So that is basically just a basic writing of the essay, right? Three paragraphs, introduction, body, and conclusion, right? And also, when you make mention of your statement, right? With the statement, it is also basically telling us that this is what you're going to develop throughout your entire statement, without your throughout your entire essay, right? This is what I'm going to be talking about. This is what I'm going to be writing. And once again, like I say, within your body, that is where you now expand on it. You're telling us more deeply, or you are expressing yourself even more, or you're making arguments, giving us evidence. You are even giving us, you are defining your arguments, right? And you're giving us an analysis of what the topic or question is about within your body. And like I say, your body can either be one paragraph, two paragraphs, or three paragraphs, depending on the amount of words you need to write, what you need to write, or how your teacher wants you to express yourself, right? And in the conclusion is basically a brief of what you had discussed in your body, and it also links with what your topic is about, right? Also, let's quickly go back. All right, let me do this. All right, so now we also have a few tips for writing a great essay, right? And a few tips for writing a great essay. Okay, let me type it. So, the tips for writing a great essay. See, tips for writing grade essay, you, okay, like I only have for now 6 tips, right? So the first tip is to analyze your question, right? So whatever your topic is going to be about, you need to first analyze what the actual question is that you need to do, right? If they are saying that you need to write about the the contrast in the book or between characters or whatever that you need to write about, right? Not just the whole topic, not even just the whole title of a specific book, right? If they either talk about um the characters or whatever that happens in the book, right? Or the characteristics and so on, then you need to first analyze your question because remember, your essay needs to link with whatever the question is, right? All right. Then the second one is so after you have analyzed the question, now you need to define your argument, right? And remember, of course, before you write your essay, you need to also have all your planning. You have a mind map and you already have a brief structure of what you're going to write within your essay, right? And that is also where the analysis or the analyzing of your question comes in. So once you have analyzed your question, now you need to define your argument, right? You've analyzed your questions, and now, okay, I need to define my arguments, right? What does this mean, right? And remember, once you know what your argument means, then you will be able to also link it with whatever you're going to be writing next, right? So define your argument. The third one is to use your evidence and reason, right? And remember, your evidence is if your topic is something that you had to research, right? Then it means that you need to write down all the evidence according to whoever, right? You need to also state where you got your evidence, where you got your, or why does your argument link with whatever that someone has said, right? So evidence needs to be there, right? You have defined your arguments. Now you're using all your evidence as well as your reasoning to basically expand on your body or to expand within your essay, right? So remember, the first tip for writing a great essay is to analyze your question, right? And like I say, your teacher will maybe give you a specific question and you need to first analyze your question. You can't look at one word in the question and think that we are just writing about the whole book or we're just writing about, for example, um, Barack Obama, right? So now the question maybe asks you something specific about Barack Obama, right? Maybe how his time within presidency was, right? So now you analyze your question, you define your art, you get evidence to back up whatever you are going to tell us, right? Not just your opinions. Right? As much as you're going to tell us your reasoning, however, there also needs to be evidence, right? Because according to whoever, right, this, that, and the other, but you also give a bit about what you think, right, links with whatever the evidence states. All right. So once you use your evidence as well as your reasoning, right, you are now going to organize a coherent essay, right? So now you organize your essay. So you have analyzed your question. Remember, and like I said, as much as your essay needs to be divided into three main paragraphs. Before you write your three paragraphs, right, you need to first have a mind map, right? You need to have a mind map, and this is also, we also call this your planning. Sorry. All right, so we have our mind map as well as we have our planning. We call it mind map or planning, right? Because once you plan, that is where, for example, the analyzing of your question comes in, defining your arguments and using so long your evidence as reasoning, right? All right, so now you are organizing your essay. And remember, we said that your essay needs to be divided into three paragraphs, right? Divides into three paragraphs, which is the introduction, the body, as well as the conclusion, right? The introduction, you can basically just have one paragraph, conclusion, one paragraph, because you are basically just giving us in that introduction a brief overview of what your essay is going to be about, right? In your body, like I said, that your body, you may have more paragraphs within your body, because now it means that you're going to expand on whatever your main points that you mentioned, or your thesis statement that you have mentioned within your introduction, right? And it depends on the level of question, also the grade, right, as to how many paragraphs you will have within your body. But you need to also be careful when it comes to sentences, or maybe just writing a whole lot of sentences that does not even make sense. Because sometimes we tend to write a lot of things, right? But then it does not make much sense. It does not link to what our topic is about, or it does not, um, it really does not make mention to the question of what the initial question was, right? All right. So once you have organized your essay, right? Now you need to also write clearly. And with writing clearly, right, this is where your formal writing comes in, right? Most times we do write how we speak, right? But when it comes to an essay, right, it is usually formal writing. And that is where simple sentences comes in, compound sentences, complex sentences comes in. You must know, pardon, when it is a dependent clause, independent clause, when do we join it, how we can join these sentences, maybe to make it into one sentence so that we don't have run-on words and so on, or run-on sentences, right? So you need to write clearly after you have organized your essay, right? And once you have written everything down clearly, right, you have analyzed your topic, right, depending on what the topic is of your, or you've analyzed your question, right, that links with your topic, right? You have defined your argument now, used your evidence as well as reasoning within your essay, right? And remember, we say that the evidence is not just you writing your own opinion on what you think it is about, right? Evidence is if you got your information from the internet or from the book or so on, you need to state where you got it, right? Either according to whoever, or this author said, or that writer said, um, this, that, and the other, and now you expand on what the writer has said, right? So that is maybe where you can give your opinion, but more not necessarily giving your opinion, it is just you paraphrasing what the writer or the author has said, right? Then you organize your essay, write clearly, right? And like I said, this is where the sentence types comes in. And then lastly, you need to also cite your sources. So cite your sources as well as your evidence. And yeah, by the third tip, right, it says use your evidence, right? And remember, I said that with using your evidence, it's either you get information from a book, from the internet, um, from newspapers, magazines, wherever you get your information from, right? You need to, at the end of your essay, you need to cite your sources as well as your evidence, right? So, where you got it from, the link that you got it from, the book, the name of the book, right? When was it published, right? So that we can know that it is, you're not taking somebody else's words and making it as your own, right? So that is basically a few tips as to writing a great essay, right? And of course, when you write an essay, once again, you need to have a mind map, or you need to first plan, and then your essay needs to be divided into three main parts, which is the introduction, it is the body, and it is the conclusion. And mainly in our introduction, you give us a brief overview of the topic um, that you will basically write within your introduction. And also here you need to mention the statement, which is like your thesis statement that you are going to develop throughout your entire statement, right? So the thesis statement that will basically that you'll find within your paragraph, it is basically just a summary of the main points or the claims of your essay. So the main points that you are going to be writing down that clearly shows that this is what you're going to be talking about within your essay. And of course, it is expressed in one sentence, and sometimes you can basically either make mention of it again or reiterate it maybe somewhere in your body, right? And that is how we write an essay. All right, so that is basically how we write an essay, needing to have a mind map, the three basic paragraphs, right? And tips on how to write a great essay. Go back to if we go to our tutorial class, right? This is on the A plus students.ca. You have logged in with your username as well as your password. Then you select language arts. All right. I think for now, let's just quickly go to grade 8, right? If you go to grade 8, then you scroll down to the chapter of and organizing writing. So we are in the planning and organizing writing, right? And this links with how to write an essay, right? All right, so whenever we plan or when you organize writing, and this is either writing an essay, writing a book review, right? Paragraph or paragraph writing, you need to, the two lessons are you either need to determine the main idea and also the other lesson that we're going to quickly or briefly go over is by text structures. So let us quickly go to determine the main idea. All right. So within essays, right? So if you basically give a brief overview of your top in your introduction, right? Once you either write paragraphs or you write essays, there needs to be a main idea. So there needs to be main ideas within passages. So the question is, what is a main idea, right? A main idea is the most important idea or claim that a text communicates, right? So the main idea, it tells us basically what our topics are about. It's the things that stands out or the information that stands out. It's the claims or important ideas a text communicates. The details in a text support, prove, and illustrate the main idea. So details in a text support, prove, or illustrate the main idea, right? So now you have your main idea within your passage, in your paragraph, right? And this is the most important claim or the idea that the text communicates. So this is my main idea. And now with your main idea, you need to have details, right, that supports it, that proves whatever that you're talking about, and that illustrates that this is the main idea, right? All right, so if we quickly look at a few examples within our tutorial, right, on main ideas or determining the main ideas. Here we're going to read the passage below, finding bombs in Germany. So the topic is finding bombs in Germany. During World American and British forces dropped millions of tons of bombs on German cities. Germany surrendered in 1945, but nearly 10% of the bombs had never exploded. 70 years later, more than 2,000 tons of unexploded bombs are found in Germany each year. Before any construction project is undertaken, the site must be checked for unexploded bombs, and buried bombs are often discovered. For this reason, Germany has a special force of fighters and police officers called the KMBD to defuse and remove these bombs. Even though the war has been over for 7 decades, the KMBD is one of the busiest bomb squads on the planet, right? So this is a passage on finding bombs in Germany, right? And now we say what the main idea is within the passage. And if you read or basically skim and scan once again the paragraph, right, it says during World War II, American and British forces dropped millions of tons of bombs in or on German cities. In 1945, nearly 10% of the bombs never exploded. 70 years later, more than 2,000 tons of exploded bombs are found in Germany each year, right? So which means that we can then also say that, where is that now? More than 2,000 tons of unexploded bombs are found each year, right? Which means that we at least still find unexploded bombs in Germany even after the wars have been done, right? All right, then Okay. Before any construction project is underway, the site must be checked for unexploded bombs, and buried bombs are often discovered, right? For this reason, Germany has special force of firefighters and police officers called the KMBD, which means that another main idea can also be that Germany has special forces of firefighters and police officers that is called the KMPD. And what they do is they defuse and removes all these bombs that are either that hasn't been exploded yet or that has been buried underground, right? So, and here it says, even though the war has been over for 7 decades, the KMBD is one of the busiest bomb squads on the planet, and we know it is still going to be like that. Why? Because we still do have a few wars going on within certain countries, right? Even though way past World War II, right? All right, so here they say if we were to get a description of what the main idea was or is based on the tutorial, right, then they'll say the main idea of the passage is there are so many unexploded bombs in Germany. The country has special force trained to defuse them. Let me just quickly, right? And remember, I did mention that the unexploded bombs in Germany, right, or the ones that are buried. And because there are so many, the country has special force trained police officers as well as firefighters to defuse these bombs, right? And here they say, just notice the phrase of this reason. It suggests that the main idea involves a cause and it has an effect, right? So there's a cause and there is an effect within that main idea, right? The main idea is that unexploded bombs in Germany have caused Germany to form the KMBD. So the fact that they still have unexploded bombs, right, or they still have buried bombs, right, that is why they now need to get the KMPD, right, which is the special forces, right, which consist of the police officers as well as the firefighters within that country, right? And we also call them a special bomb squad. And the special bomb squad is there to defuse and to remove these bombs that are either there with like that is still unexploded or the ones that are still buried elsewhere. All right. Okay, let's look at the next passage, right? The baseball's history. To the baseball's history. The modern baseball The modern baseball has come a long way from early baseballs. In the 1840s and 1850s, pitchers are often made pitchers often made their own balls by hand. One of the most popular balls of the time was known as the lemon peel ball. The lemon peel ball was composed of a single piece of leather wrapped around a core with 4 lines of stitching. Today's Major League Baseball must measure between 9 and 9.25 inches and weigh between 5 and 5.25 inches or 5.25 ounces. However, there were no standards for lemon peel balls, which were generally smaller and lighter than today's balls. While today's official balls must be white and stitched with waxed red thread, the lemon peel ball was often a dark brown leather and had a variety of stitching color. All right, so now we need to basically say what the main idea is within this passage. All right, so we're going to read the passage again, and then as we're reading it, we will identify the main ideas within the passage, right? The modern baseball has come a long way from early baseballs in the 1840s and 1850s. Pitchers often made their own balls by hand, right? One of the most popular balls of the time is the lemon peel. The lemon peel ball was composed of a single piece of leather wrapped around a core with four lines of stitching. Today's baseball measure must be between 9 and 9 to 5 inches and weigh between 5 and 5 to ounces. However, there were no standards for lemon peel balls, which were smaller and lighter than today's balls, while today's official balls must be white and stitched with wax red thread. The lemon peel balls was often a dark brown leather and had a variety of stitching colors. Right? So what is the main idea? The main is that today's baseball is quite different. The early balls, right? And in the early balls, they used lemon peels, right? It was known as lemon peel balls. And the lemon peel balls, it was basically composed of a single piece of leather wrapped around a core with four lines of stitching. So that was many years because the modern baseball, right? They basically made it themselves. It was made by hand. Now you need to have a certain stitching, a certain material, right? It needs to be white with red stitching, right? And if we now go further, it says here that the main idea of that passage, which is the baseball's history, right, is today's baseball is quite different from early balls such as lemon peels, right, which we mentioned. And we said that the lemon peels, right, or the peel balls, it was composed of a single piece of wrapped around a core with four lines of stitching. So the main idea over here is today's baseball is quite different from the early balls such as the lemon peel. And the lemon peel, that is what the ball was known for, or the popular ball was known as, right? And here they just notice the words however and while, right? However and while. So that is extensions that we are mentioning there, right? However and while, right? They suggest that the main idea involves a contrast, right? Here, the main idea is the difference between the modern day. They're comparing it, right? They are making a contrast, right? Um, and they are telling us the different modern day, which is now the modern day baseball, which is yeah, they say it must be measured now between 9 and 9 to 5 inch and weigh between 5 and 5 to 5 ounces, right? The modern bowl, that is the bowls that they use today, and the early lemon peel bowls. So they are making a contrast between the difference of the modern day baseball as well as the early lemon peel bowls. And the early lemon peel bowls, it was basically just made of a single piece of leather wrapped around a core with four lines of stitching, right? And then also, if you look at the title, which is the baseball's history, right? The baseball's history. That gives us an idea that the title also suggests that they are involving, or the main idea involves contrast, right, between the modern day baseball as well as the early lemon peel balls. All right, so just to um, basically just go over what a main idea is. A main idea is the most important idea or claim that a text communicates, right? Either when you're writing an essay, paragraph, or something, right? And the details within this text, it supports, it proves, and it gives us an illustration, right? Or illustrates the main idea. All of these supports the main idea. And in this passage that we just read about the baseball history, right, it is just suggesting that the main ideas, it involves a contrast. There's a difference between modern day baseball as well as the early peel balls, right? The balls that they used many years ago. All right, so just to go back to what our actual lesson is or was about, it was also about how to write an essay. And with writing an essay, right, we also went back as to how to write a main idea, because within essays, we need to also state our main ideas, right? And then we work according to our main ideas. And remember, whenever we write an essay, we need to have a mind map or we need a plan, right? And then your essay, it needs to be divided into three main paragraphs: your introduction, your body, and your conclusion. And then we also gave you 6 tips to write a great essay. Analyze your questions, define your argument, and remember your question is based on what you need to also write about, not just the topic. So analyze your question, define your argument, right? Define, give a definition, right? Go brief, go deeper into what it is your argument is going to be about. Use your evidence and reasoning, meaning that it cannot just be your opinion all the time. If you went on the internet or you got a book or something, then you need to state your evidence, right? So use your evidence and reasoning, right? Paraphrase what the author or the writer is saying. Organize your essay, right? Your main ideas, your intro that gives us a brief overview of your topic within your introduction, right? And also within your intro, you also give us mention the statement or the thesis statement that you are going to develop throughout your entire essay, right? Write clearly, write clearly. This is where your formal writing comes in when writing an essay, and cite your sources and evidence. And that goes back to use your evidence and reasoning. Now, all of your evidence and your sources that you had, that you got it from the internet, the library, books, in like ebooks or the physical books, you need to cite your sources. Who the author is, the year of the sources, right? Is it a book? Is it a the topic of the book, right? Or if you got it on the internet, you need to also have a link. All right, so that is it on how to write an essay, right? Um, and that was basically for all of the high school students. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining the class on how to write an essay, right? And we also spoke about the main ideas and basically how to write a detailed main idea or claim. So thank you once again for joining the class, and you should have an amazing evening further. Till next time, goodbye.